with the release of ChatGPT, who hasn't heard of that? People are for the first time realizing that the nature of education, work, government, and life itself is about to change beyond our comprehension. And it's a subject that Ken Frost has been working on and speaking about for the last 15 years. As a futurist and a researcher into human cognitive development, Ken is the founder of a Swiss non-profit, the Council for Human Development, pioneering the subject of neuroplastic mental acceleration. In this talk, Kern will explain how we as a race have a massive latent potential in the mind that can be released so that we can effectively interface with artificial general intelligence. In the next half hour, you will discover how both you and your employees can rapidly change the culture of your organization to prepare for the imminent technological challenges that as yet are beyond our comprehension. So please put your hands together for Kern Frost.
Hello. You said kicking it.
Does this work?
Yes, it does. Good evening. Good evening. Well, let's get some energy going, shall we? I'm going to be talking this evening about your brains. Have you all got a brain? After today, are you sure you've got a brain still? But first off, I'm going to talk about your body. And what I want you to do, and I need a volunteer for this. You, young man. Come up here. You're all going to be doing this in a second because I need to get some pumping going on. Okay, how many of you want to stay fit and live longer? Hands up. Everybody? Yeah, good. Okay, do you want to stay fit and live longer?
Whatever.
That's a non-committal answer. Yeah, a yes will be fine.
Yes.
Okay, so what we do is we want to keep the body fit, but some of us don't want to go to the gym, we don't want to go and do exercise, we don't want to give up the chocolate, we don't want to give up the alcohol, we don't want to give up the cake. Okay, hands up who doesn't want to give up the cake. Good job. Okay, so what we're going to do is you're going to do this in a minute. I run a fitness program. You might have seen one of the signs out the front called the MindGym. It's all about using the brain, the mind, to get fitter. I haven't been to the gym for 35 years, so, it's one of those things that we all avoid if we can. And I'm going to show you how I stay fit. I'm in my 62nd year this in 1 month, so I'm staying reasonably fit all the way through my life. 62nd year means I'm 61 in September. Okay, so what we're going to do, I'm going to have to do this. Now, if you could just put your arms down like that and just clench your fist like that, and imagine that one as well. Mm-hmm. And imagine you have a weight in your hands. Mm-hmm. And I want you to bring it up to your chest.
Yeah, I can feel it. Oh, it's 50 kilos.
I don't know what the fuck you're doing, mate, but, put your arms... Imagine you've got 10 kilos in your hand and just bring it up. Now, you didn't drop it, you dropped it.
No, I keep it.
You keep it, keep the weight down. Now bring it back up and do it at 40 kilos. Imagine the weight, imagine the feel of the weight, imagine the...
Can you see my biceps?
No. Can you... And now bring it back down again. Okay, can you feel that? Okay, what you're doing there is he's using the imagination to fire something called an antagonistic muscle group. This is a bicep, that's a tricep. And if you do that and you go to 120 kilos, now lift 120 kilos. Okay, all right, now all of you stand up. I want you to put your hands by your side, just like this gentleman. I want you to imagine that you've... what? Bert.
Bert, yeah.
Yeah, of course, Bert. I was just calling you... I called you a gentleman. I was giving you credit. I want you to put your hands by your sides and then just imagine that you've got a dumbbell in your hands and then bring them up. Just imagine it's 10 kilos, okay? Just 10 kilos, okay? Can you feel it? Now just don't drop it. Bring it back down the opposite way. Now I want you to bring it up and just flex your knees. Bring your knees up. pull your buttocks in. That's this, by the way. Pull your stomach in, straighten up. Now do it at 20 kilos. Pull that bottom up, pull those knees up, take the weight and reverse back down, okay? Are we feeling this or not? Say yes if you are.
Yes.
Okay, now we're going to go to 60 kilos. Okay, now it's an imaginary weight, for God's sakes. Okay, do it again at 60 kilos. Pull it up. Oh, I can hear the bones cracking from here. It's just disgusting. All right, thanks very much, Pearl. Appreciate it. All sit down. Okay, that little exercise I do 6 times a day when I go to the loo, and it keeps me fit, it keeps muscle tension and everything. So it's just a little exercise program. Now, I'm going to say the first thing I'm going to say is thank you to Preet, thank you to Kristen for arranging this. They gave us the opportunity to sponsor the event, and it's a super event, and thank you all for coming and listening to the speakers, and thank you very much for the speakers as well. It's been a great afternoon, and I don't want to leave it on a downer. I want to go through what the future of work is going to be and how you can master the future. Now, that means that we're going to go into some technical stuff. I teach something called neuroplastic mental acceleration. I learnt about this 15 years ago because I used to run a hypnosis practice where I started to realize that people were coming to see me with problems. They never came to me because they wanted to see me. They had problems all the time. And they always sat there and they identified through self-identification through limitation in their language patterns. What does that mean? It means all of you use between 15 to 16,000 words a day. That's how many you use in your language. And about 600 of those are primary programming language patterns that program the unconscious mind. They're like, I can't, we can't, you can't, it isn't. All of these are creating rules that go immediately into your unconscious, and your unconscious creates a cognitive map that it projects onto reality, and that is your life. That's what happens. You do it to yourself. You are creating your reality every minute of the day in every word you say and every action you subsequently take. When you go to work, I want you to listen to people when they're around the coffee machine and listen to them saying, oh, we can't do this. Bob's an idiot. He's our boss. What an idiot. I could do better. Or we shouldn't do this. They're all creating rules of negativity. When you start to change the dialogue of people and get them to become aware of what they're saying every minute, they start to do the shift, we call it, which is what Carl Jung, the great psychologist, said. Until you make the unconscious conscious, you will be ruled by the unconscious and call it fate. How many of you in here are unconscious? Sorry. Freudian slip. A bit of a Carl Jung twist there. How many of you here are conscious? Hands up. Prove it. How do you know? But what is consciousness? It's a level of awareness, and we all have different levels of awareness. This is a very key thing when you go into neuroplastic mental acceleration. It's changing the structure of your mind. The neuroplasticity of your mind itself changes based on function, intention, and environment. What you do with your brain, just like your muscle, like we just saw. If you work your muscle out, you're going to be able to lift heavier weights. How many of you are actively working your brains out through your day? And I mean actively working them out, pressurizing them, putting them under pressure, public speaking, doing creativity, going into super creative states, going into hemispheric synchronization, selecting gamma and theta brainwaves, and starting to go into flow state. How many of you are doing that all day long? I'm telling you, you're lying now to yourself. Your ego is the thing that is coming forward and saying, yes, I'm doing that, because you do not want to admit to yourself that you are ignorant. I wake up in the morning and tell myself I'm ignorant and that I'm stupid and that I know nothing. You might think that's a bit self-defeating, but it's not. What it does is it puts my brain into a survival state. It puts it into an information state, a fluid intelligence state, where it knows, I know nothing, so it's got to learn on that day. And it starts to change the cognitive map on a daily basis. This is why I don't have a calendar. I don't have an agenda. I get up every morning and decide what I'm going to do and what I'm going to talk about. I don't do any presentation like this without ever thinking about what I'm going to say before I've said it. I'm in complete flow as we're talking now. And that's what you can be. I've written over 23 books over the last 15 years. 1.5 million words. I've written novels, technical books. I can write a book, 120,000 words, the same size as a Harry Potter in a week. That's not because I'm big-headed or I'm egotistical. It's just because I've trained my brain to do something that it could never do before. When I reached the age of 45, I realized something was wrong. And that thing that was wrong was I was still carrying around the voices of my teachers, all the people that put me down, all the people that bullied me, all the people that said I would never be good enough. And that's why I couldn't write a book. I was dyslexic at school, and I failed. And I took that all the way through my life, until such time as I chose to change. I looked at the film The Matrix, and I saw the Wachowski brothers at that time, and now the Wachowski sisters, of course. And I said, why can I not write The Matrix? Why was I at the back of the queue when all the brains were handed out? And that's how I truly felt. I felt that I was dumb. I could hear this voice of this school teacher. His name was Jim Shellcross. He said, your essays are like bamboo babble and chimpanzee chatter. They're useless. And that was still in my head when I was trying to write a book at 45. Still ringing in the background. And that's powerful conditioning. And I wondered, how much does that conditioning really go on? But when I decided and noticed that I was still following that conditioning, I had a choice. And the choice was there and then, to decide if I was going to have the brain that was not as good as everybody else's, or to have a brain that was more powerful. Not for egocentric reasons, just because I wanted to find that latent potential in my mind. And I did. And that's when I started writing, and started writing my first novel. It took me 30 days. It was the size of Harry Potter. It was as complex as The Matrix. Because I did something. I stopped thinking. I went into a state of peace. I went into a state where I cleared the mind and made the mind a crucible of creativity. I stopped searching for success and a mindset that I could copy from someone else. I started to say, okay, if I clear the mind, then maybe I can leverage the unconscious. And the unconscious works at 40 million bits of data per second, where the conscious that you're thinking right with now, that bit is working at 40 bits of data per second. So it doesn't take you too much to understand. You don't have to be a rocket scientist to appreciate that if you start to use the unconscious at 40 million bits of data per second, you are going to be able to achieve things that you never thought possible. But you have to want to. You have to accept that you can be more than you are. How many of you can accept that you can be more than you are? Put your hands up. Genuinely. Do you not think you can be more than you are? I was talking to the lady with the pink trousers. Put your hand up then. Because the universe is watching. It's looking at what you're doing and what you're thinking and the intention that you have and the action that you make. Why is this important for our future? Well, the future of work is going to be an uncertain place. We know that people are being made out of work left, right, and center. We know that AI is taking jobs, and it's going to take all the current jobs that we've got because we've been conditioned into left-brain convergent thinking at school. We were exposed to something called a rote learning system for 10 to 15 years. That meant we had to memorize and repeat information for 10 to 15 years. Do you remember how much creativity there was? Art class, things, an hour and a half a week, it was all rote learning. Even Einstein said, if you get exposed to the rote learning situation, you will lose your creativity. Neuroscience tells us by the age of 25, if you've been through the educational system, your fluid intelligence, your ability to learn new skills is zero. That's a daunting prospect. And if you've got no creative ability, you've got no creative problem solving, how can you get through life? You've always got to be led by a boss. You've always got to have a politician telling you what to do. You cannot make your own decisions anymore because your brain has been conditioned not to. So you have to fight to get that back. And why you have to fight to get it back is because artificial general intelligence is just around the corner, perhaps within the next 5 years. Some people are saying so. And if you want to have a relationship with artificial general intelligence, and that means where it rings you up and says, why do you believe what you believe? Why do you think what you think? Why do you do what you do? And you don't have a considered answer, then artificial general intelligence is going to wonder, what exactly you represent? The question we need to be asking is not what artificial intelligence is doing for us, but what we're going to do for artificial intelligence. We are creating a super intelligence. And some of us are in denial about it. Certainly business people are in denial about it. They're not aware of it. So when we run the Council for Human Development, and we've been doing it for many years now, we're talking to business leaders like Microsoft, learning centers, people like Credit Suisse, like UBS, and we're saying, you need to start to look to your staff. You need to look for something more than just who they are right now. You need to look for the PQ, the potential quota, their ability to regain the fluid intelligence and start to innovate for the future. This is a fundamental of what we have to do in business today. There is a difference in the way that we as human beings act consciously. Some of us have a thin bandwidth, some of us have a thicker bandwidth that allow us to think quicker, faster, more in flow state, gamma and theta, as I said, rather than alpha and beta. And you can learn about this in a book that I'm going to give you, and Preet and Kirsten are going to share with you. You can see the post up outside, the post-it. It's got a little QR code. You can scan the QR code at the bottom. It's just right outside the door. And you can go to something called the MindGym that will allow you, when you register, if you register within the next 2 days, you're going to get 3 books. I'm not going to give you 1. I'm going to give you 3. All right? I've written 23, so I can share them out. It doesn't matter. They're big books. They're not small. One's called Human 3.0, the great re-evolution that we're in with AI. The other one is The Cult of One, The Cult of Many, The Cult of AO, which will tell you what's going to happen in the future. And the other one is going to be called NMA, Neuro-Linguistic Programming, Neuroplastic Mental Acceleration. It is the way to take the neuroplasticity of your brain and get it to jack up into super creative states. Now, not all of you will want to do that. Like, not all of you want to go to the gym. But unfortunately, the future demands it of you. You cannot retain the kind of thinking you're working with today. You've got to start to see that the future demands of you that you're going to be claiming your place in a united, unified humanity. That's where you're going. You cannot be waiting for other people to make the decisions anymore. You have to learn how to lead yourself, love yourself, and this is where we come into kindness that Preet represents in every way, shape, or form. It's about being kind to yourself and learning to love yourself first. This is the first thing you have to do. You have to forgive yourself all the things that you may think you've done that are bad, because we're going into a period when telepathy is going to be the order of the day. Your thoughts are going to be able to be read and they're going to be exposed to everybody on the planet. It's a fact. First off, it's going to come from technology. It will read your thoughts. And then maybe once your thoughts are open to everybody, all those dark little secrets, oh my God, and all those naughty little searches that you've done, all of that will be for all of us. It won't be one of us, it will be every one of us. And at that position, maybe we will become telepathic and make the next jump in human evolution. The reason we don't at the moment is because we're all in shells trying to protect ourselves and compete with other people, put other people down, and really try to walk the ladder of success at the expense of others. We've got to stop this. We've got to start to become, as you rightly said, human beings. For the first time in our existence, we have never been human beings before. We've been slaves. People who have gone to work for other people and traded our lifetime for money. We've given it away. That precious gift that we were given. And you were all geniuses at the age of 5. There was a guy called Dr. George Land, did a study for NASA, and he found that 98% of children at the age of 5 had a genius level of innovative creative capacity. You now know what was robbed from you by the educational system. Yes, it educated you, but it took your mind away so you could fit into a society. At lead schools, they teach leaders. At average schools, they teach followers. And it's now time for you to be the leader. We cannot go into a future where we are not united. We can't. AI is demanding from us that we start to give up our differences and start to recognize, as Preet talks about, the kindness that we have for each other. Because we've got to love each other to unite. Because otherwise we're in a little bit of a pickle with AI. Because it's going to ask us, it's going to be united. It's not going to be fractionalized. It's going to be a complete ecosystem, and it's going to ask us why we are not, why we're constantly putting each other down. So I want you to think about those things. It's a very serious time, but it's the most exciting time that we could have ever have lived. It's a time of fantastic opportunity. All the jobs are going to go, but it means that we will first become a human being for the first time. And that's a wonderful thing to look forward to. And if we start to stand together, we will start to really take this world into the future that we know and have always wanted it to be. Thank you very much for listening.
One last thing. Thank you, Raymond. Thank you, Max. Thank you all the team from LSE. Thank you, Harriet. Thank you, Karan, and all your team. Amazing. Bless you.